So I just want to talk about the use of long lines. Long lines are really useful to make sure that you don't actually lose your dog when you go off on for a walk. Very useful for puppies whilst they're learning how to come back when they're called. Also useful for rescue dogs or any dog that hasn't yet learned to come back to you when you call. It helps you to have a means of capturing them, and even people around the area can help you to catch your dog if they're actually on a long line. There are several kinds of long line that you can get. You can get ridiculously long ones. I tend to say just go for a 5 metre. For those of you who are not up to date with the metric, that's about 15 feet, or 10 metres, which is 30 feet. I tend to stick with the 5 metres because I just think they're easier to manage. And after all, you want your dog to stay fairly close to you to start off with. My favourite brand is a brand that's going to be padded and thick. The best one I found is the Clicks range, if you can get it. And basically the first thing I do is I tie knots in the length of the lead. And there is a good reason for that. It helps you to get a bit of purchase. Should you have to put your foot on the lead, you get a bit of purchase when the knot gets caught under your foot. So all I need now is to demonstrate how to use it, and I'll go and fetch my dog, Lily. Lily's come to help me to demonstrate the use of a long line. What's really important is you shouldn't attach a long line to the dog's collar, because if your dog does run and you do need to stop your dog and you put your foot or pick up the long line, you don't want your dog to come to a sudden stop with that lead on their neck. Just going to let her go and explore. Because obviously that's going to run the risk of causing an injury. So as you'll see from this lead in a minute, good girlie. I've actually attached the lead here onto the loop that's on the back of the harness. Don't attach it to the front if you have a front attachment harness, because again, obviously if your dog is at full run and you have hold of the lead, you are going to cause them to have a nasty tumble. It's safer to have the lead attached to the harness on the back. That way you've got a dog that can go and investigate and call. If you were to call and they don't come back, then what you should do is the dog is loose, you go up there and you can pop your foot on the long line. Come on, good girlie, good girl. And as you can see, it quite nicely stops them from going off where you don't want them to go, and doesn't give them too nasty a jolt. So that's the best way to use a long line. Other things you should be aware of is that these don't work very well on the sand. So if you live anywhere near a beach, then you are going to have to bend down and pick it up, because if you put your foot on it, it just slithers underneath your boot. It doesn't work well in mud either, it just goes underneath in the mud. So there are times when you won't be able to put your foot on the long line. You will have to just use your hands and pick up the lead. So the way you would start using the long line when you're calling your dog is to start off with them somewhere away from you. And I'll just throw something to distract Lily off over there. Go get it. So your dog's away from you. What you should then do is call them, Lily, come, good girl, and reward them for coming to you with the treat. What you won't do is you won't be tugging on the long line to call them to you, because you don't want the line to be the signal for recall, because obviously when they're not on lead, you're not going to have that as a prompt. So it's really important that you try, even if you are holding the lead, even if you're holding it, that you don't actually tug on them. Lily, come! Good girl! Well done. So you're just really relying on them coming to you. That's only there in an emergency should they not come back and they go off and try to do something else. And over time you will increase the distance they're away from you. Start off in quiet places where they're not going to get too distracted. They come to you, reward them well, and then you would start to take them to environments where it's a little bit more distracting. I hope you found that useful. And I hope you have a good time training your dog.